Women. Women are so fucking cool.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Women Are So Fucking Cool, the podcast where I get to talk to really cool women and share their story with you, and you get to be like inspired and wowed by all of them. I really do appreciate everyone who's been listening. If this is your first time listening, welcome, welcome. This is a podcast where I talk to women about what makes a fucking cool woman, and they tell me about some of the women in their lives, and it's pretty amazing. I'm doing this as a podcast right now, but I am definitely turning this into a documentary. And today's episode features Christine Larkin. I knew her as Christine Skylark because when I was in New York City, how we met at a brunch, she was a singer as well as a writer and much voiceover artist. She's a multi-talented woman. And we talked, and it was just so nice to have the catch-up call because we hadn't talked to each other in over 20 years. But also, it just inspires me so much to hear people talk about how important and how valuable it is to be kind to each other. Just to be kind. Kindness really is such a valuable asset, tool, act. It's just kindness. And I think that is truly what makes an FCW. One of their attributes is being kind to themselves and each other. So here's the conversation that I had with Christine. We are back again. I get to talk to another fucking cool woman that I knew when I lived in New York City. And it's been a lot of fun reminiscing. But now we get to talk about the good stuff. So, hey, Christine.
Hi, Joanne. It's so good
Hey.
to meet you.
Yeah. So, I would love to hear what your definition is of a fucking cool woman.
I think a fucking cool woman is someone who is authentically themselves, that doesn't really need, a lot of attention, doesn't need the stage, and really has an open heart, knows their purpose, and is kind. I think that's a fucking cool woman.
And what kind of personality traits do you think makes a woman a fucking cool woman?
Well, respect for others. I think just as a point of view to go out into the world, I think that one of the hardest things is to respect people. I think we have to, people have to earn our respect. And I've never really been that way. I've always been more innocent until proven guilty, that kind of approach. So I give people a lot of attention and my grace. And sometimes I shouldn't, I've been bitten a few times. As I'm getting older, I think that I'm doing that less and less. I'm keeping more of my internal personal self to myself. I think that's really important. But kindness has always been a really big one to me. And when I catch myself being unkind, I stop myself and I say, "That wasn't nice, Chris." But it's not often, I have to say. It's a big one for me. So kindness.
I think I would agree with you. I think kindness really is a really important one because I always say being nice just to be nice is the nicest feeling of all. Being kind, it's like
Yeah.
it makes when you're kind to yourself too, because you're giving yourself that grace of kindness. I know I've just said kindness 20 zillion times.
I think about a situation. Oh God, I still think about it once in a while. I was online in a store, and this was years ago. And there was a woman in front of me, and I think she cut the line, and she said something, and I said, "Well, your kind would do that." And I thought, Chris, you don't talk like that. And I immediately apologized. I said, "Oh my God, that's not who I am." So that stayed with me because I must have been in a mood, who knows, or it was a moment. But yeah, no, I never did it again.
No.
Imagine someone your kind would. That's terrible.
Oh, I know. I I know. I caught myself one time. I was trying to get to the subway or something, and the person in the window wasn't going to let me go through for, whatever reason. I slammed my hand on the window, and I was like, I go, oh, I walked away going, that is not me. No,
Yeah.
not I mean, I am so sorry that I did that because that is not me. And I never did that ever again either. So, and this is important to recognize too. We may be fucking cool women, but we're not fucking perfect.
We're not.
But what makes us cool is we recognize and we acknowledge our mistakes. And and if there are consequences to things that we've done, we take care of what we can to rectify the situation because things
Well,
are going to happen.
yeah, and that's, emotional intelligence. I mean, there are people who are arrogant. I cannot tell you how many times I read in our local paper someone hit someone with their car, accidentally, but they leave the scene of the accident. That seems to be the norm now. That is terrifying to me. So we have to have accountability. That's something that we've got to get back.
Yeah, definitely. And the way we have accountability is that we have accountability and we just connect with more and more people who can help us stay accountable, which is what we do, right? Um,
Yep.
this this question popped into my head and it's the one that I didn't tell you about, so we'll see where it goes. But I'd like to hear, when do you think you realized that you were a fucking cool woman?
Oh, wow. It's funny because I was just thinking about this recently about living in the city. When you're in New York City, or I imagine any big cosmopolitan city, you walk differently. You kind of strut. It's like you really have to find your little comfort zone when you're on the streets of a big city. And once you do, you own it. And I love that feeling. And I kind of miss that feeling because living in the suburbs, there isn't a lot of really cool energy in the suburbs at all. I mean, I live in an area where it's really a beach life. And when I was younger, this was an extension of the beach. I live near Fire Island. I don't know if you've ever heard of Fire Island, but it's almost like Tybee. It's like a barrier beach. It's a community with no cars. It's really wonderful. So that's the lifestyle out here. It is getting a little better with culture, but there's nothing like when you step into a big city. So I think I always felt cool because I was raised by parents who were very open minded and they were cool and they were interested in the creative and performing arts. And I was raised on that. They loved architecture and innovation. And so we went to all these things. We went to the horse races in Saratoga. We went and watched the Blue Angels take off and do their air shows. We went into New York City. I mean, they were from the city. So I was exposed to everything, literally. My parents were very open minded. So that was cool to me.
Yeah, I think that's really true. Well, I was thinking, your parents kind of raised fucking cool women because you and
Did.
your sisters, that you have such a great relationship with each other now too.
Oh, we bicker. Woo, do we bicker, man? But we get over it. It's never been where we stop talking to each other. Never. We are just we're all very driven and creative in our own way and have interesting pursuits in life. And so I think on some level we compete, but not really because we weren't raised that way either. But we certainly compete for attention. It can be exhausting. So, but they're really good women. They're
Yeah.
good.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, I think, my sisters are fucking cool, but, very different than I
Yes.
am, but I think that's why I like it because they're the ones that really know us,
Yeah.
like we have that family that there's that safe, but then we have the beauty of knowing the sisters that we meet in our life, the chosen sisters, you know, and how many women, fucking cool women, have we met that are just awesome?
Oh, yeah. And look at you and I. How many years now? It's like 20 years.
Uh-huh.
It's pretty incredible. And where have those years gone, right?
I
Woo!
know. I know. And who it was it Marjorie that brought you to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I wrote that down. Let me look at my note a minute because I think, what did I wrote that I believe she introduced me. Uh, yeah, Marjorie Ocho Coons, who I love, introduced me to FCW. We met at the Sirius XM voiceover audition. It was our first voiceover audition, each of us, and we met on the line. That's how we met.
In the line. That's so amazing. Oh,
Yep,
I love it. I just saw a Facebook post the other day about somebody talking about meeting someone in a bathroom line. Now they're having drinks together like years later.
that's where we met. And then, of course, meeting you and the other gal I love, and I'll elaborate more, is Catherine Nora Ushman. She's such a love, that girl. I mean, talk about dedicated and open-minded and kind. And Catherine just has great attributes. Aside from Marjorie, who I love too, wonderful, artistic, creative, New Yorker, even though she's from Shreveport originally, I think. But almost everybody came from somewhere else, right? Who's born and raised in Manhattan? It's
There's
very,
a few. There's a few of them.
yeah.
Yeah. And so tell me, so share with me a woman that you think is fucking cool. Tell me everything you want to tell me about her and why she's a fucking cool woman.
And do we have, is someone you need to know or does it
Nope.
matter?
Uh-uh.
Oh my God. I've always loved, and her name just went right out of my head. She wrote the book, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, Maya Angelou. There's something about Maya Angelou to me that I feel she's like every woman. She just, her words, you know, really ring true no matter what color. She was kind of, in my mind, the ultimate like sage of Black women. And she wrote about it. And her voice, the way she spoke, it was almost like she was dancing with her voice. I've always loved her. There's many. I love Oprah Winfrey. I'm very drawn to the African women. And even at my jobs, at every job, I don't know if it's appropriate to say this, but I suppose I can. I always was drawn to the Black girls. They just were different. They were I don't know.
They're fucking amazing.
Yeah,
Black women are fucking amazing. And they have so much, they hold so much of just, crap on their shoulders from their ancestors and from current situations. And they are so should be so revered because they are. And I like to think about this too. I've been thinking about this about ancestry, right? I
yeah,
don't have a big connection to my personal family ancestry. I'm European, la la la, but I'm not really that much. But so who are my ancestors? And I started thinking, my ancestors are the ancestors of the ancestors of the ancestors of the ancestors of the people, the first human beings. And those were those people in the African countries and those African nations. And those are my ancestors because we are
yeah,
all one race. And I think
yeah.
and I'm just going to say this, I think there's a connection that if you're open to it, you can really find something powerful in those relationships with these women.
Absolutely. And I think there's a humility
Uh-huh.
that African people or African American Black. I like Black. I was raised, Black and white, and I think it's still okay, still
Yeah.
appropriate. And there's a humility. Some of my closest friends
Yeah.
and people were Black. So I never saw color. I went to a school, and my parents were like that too.
Yeah.
They Rockaway, which is a mixed community, and I grew up in Bayshore, which was a mixed community, still is, unlike many other parts of Long Island.
Yeah.
In my senior year, oh my God, long story short, senior year of high school or junior year, my parents moved to East Islip. And I was still commuting to my school in Bayshore. We were white, black, Spanish. That was the mix. There was really nothing else. It was back in, what, 60s, 70s. So I moved to East Islip. They got a new house and I commuted. And then one day I went to my mother and I was entering my senior year. And I said, Mom, I really want a change. I want to go to East Islip. Now, there was one black kid in East Islip. So it was going to be different. But I was open to a new experience for whatever reason. It had nothing to do with race. It was just, I needed change. And so one day I'm still in Bayshore, I'm in my junior year, and this girl, Terry Kazan, I still remember her name, shows up. I hear this, she's in the cafeteria. I hear there's a girl moving to East Islip, and I'm just curious. Do you know Chris Larkin? She came to me. I said, yeah, I am Chris Larkin. And yes, I am going to be going to East Islip in my senior year. Who are you? And she introduced herself. Don't you know the first day of class in East Islip, there were the guys lined up on one side of the hall. It was a totally different experience. And the girls on the other side. And it was like a gauntlet. And they were checking Big Bad Chris from Bayshore. And it was wild. And I thought, they're going to love me as soon as they get to know me. I was very sure that I was not a threat to these people. So this one girl, Pam, grabbed my hand and she, lovely, beautiful white girl, stick with me. You'll be all right. They don't mean any harm. And to this day, we are the best of friends. So I adjusted very well, but I did miss the mix in Bayshore. So I've always been accustomed to mixed race in my
Oh,
town school.
yeah.
So I don't mean to get off track here. I'm
No,
sorry.
no, no. This is what it's all about. No, but I like having there's something to say about diversity, it's interesting, there's something to be said about the culture of a community, which is to be respected and understood. Um
Sure.
but that doesn't mean it's one is better than the other, or one can't be a practice at the same time. And then there's nothing wrong about merging the cultures and making it together, and the melting pot. Why not have it just merge it together.
Well,
So
that's
there's
New York, Joe, right? I
yeah,
mean, that's came there. I mean, we were exposed to everything, the entire world
yeah,
in one block. You could meet people from every country. It was just utterly fascinating.
yeah. It's
Great that experience.
yeah. I mean, there's nothing like New York, nothing
No,
like New York at all.
no.
But there's nothing like Singapore. There's it's yeah. But it's I love New York, but I don't want to talk about New York because I love New York. Okay. Um,
But we decided to leave, and we don't have to. Sometimes there are days I go, "Oh my God, how did I ever leave? Why did I leave?" And then I go, "You're not going back, Chris. So knock it off."
yeah, no, no, no. And you leave because sometimes change. You have to change. And with everything you have to know when you have to change, evolve, and
Um,
it doesn't take away
well,
the amazingness of what it was. And you
right.
can, because eventually this moment in time is going to be the amazingness that we talk about 10 years from now. So
And
everything is temporary. So that's where we want to be in the present. Um, and your mom was a fucking cool woman.
yes, my mother was probably the kindest person I ever knew. And she was very beautiful and she was very bright and she was very humble. And everyone who met her, and I'm not saying because it's my mom, but she's passed away, uh, this is what I would get. Your mom, your mother. Wow. I know. She's she just had a capacity. I wish I knew more people like her to make you feel like you were the most important person in that room. She gave you her undivided attention. She had a lightness about her. She just was, she had like incredible qualities. And I used to say, Mom, how did I get to be your daughter? I would love to be like you. I could go on and on. She had a lot of really great attributes.
Did she have a job? Did she work?
So mom wanted to be a fashion designer, and she was an excellent illustrator, and she had great appreciation for fashion, and she had a great eye for dressing. Um, but when she got married, she got pregnant, and then she got pregnant, and then she got pregnant. And so 8 kids later, she wasn't going to be pursuing a career. But she did work throughout the course of our life. She did have always had very good jobs as a secretary, because in those days you could make a good living and it was a respectable job. And she always worked for, the top guy. But she needed to be home more. We had two special needs siblings, so they required some attention. And my older brother passed from drug abuse, and so she went through hell.
Yeah.
It was very strong. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
she.
I love there is an episode of we where I took a couple excerpts of different people women talking about their moms for Mother's
Mm.
Day. There was a Mother's Day special
Oh,
episode. And I like hearing about the moms because those women really helped forge the changes that
sure.
we have today in their own unique way. Not every feminist, not every woman is being written about in the history book, but
You
everyone
know,
makes a difference.
she really was ahead of her time, and she was a feminist in some ways. I mean, she was always a leader.
Uh-huh.
She, the association in those days, they called it the ARC, Association for Retarded Children. And she was the president for 2 years. I can still remember going to the meetings. And my mother probably could have been a CEO of a company. I mean, she had that quality, but she was a housewife, and she loved us, and we would go to New York all the time and go to theater and go to art exhibits and go out to lunch. Mom exposed us to the arts. She loved it. We had a big family, so it was a beautiful life growing up. It really,
Yeah.
yeah. She was our best friend, you know.
Oh, that's so good. That's so nice. So well, I guess she also sort of, we talked about this earlier about respect. So, how do you feel the three words respect, encourage, and celebrate play a part in your life? Or how do you feel that they, are need to be more valued in other, in society, or how you approach it in your work life?
We certainly need more respect for each other. That's something that has gone the wayside, and it's something that I think about all the time. Grace. Somebody wants to merge on a roadway, you don't play a stupid game with them. You let them go. Just common courtesy. I always talk about that. Common courtesy. They could be your daughter, your sister, your mother, your brother. We're no different. Let
Yeah.
them give people grace. Encourage. I've always encouraged people to live their dreams, to pursue whatever they want to do that makes them happy. Just do what makes you happy. I've always been encouraging. And the last word, I'm so sorry. Well,
Celebrate.
well, celebrate people's accomplishments. When they do something, be happy for them. My sister booked an industrial that she's going to be filming on Monday. I'm so happy for her because she's worked so hard. She's a couple of years older than me. She's retired, and this is sort of something she always wanted to do. It's a very tough business. I'm in it. Well, not as much anymore. But when you book a job, that's a big deal. So bravo to her. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
celebrate people's accomplishments always.
Always, always, always. Yeah, those are really, I love it. Spot
Yeah.
on. I love your answers. Um, so now I feel Like, I'd love to hear what you'd like to share. What would you like to say to the women out there who are fucking cool, but those women who are a little hesitant to claim it for themselves, or when we're having that bad day, because
Nope.
we all have those bad days,
Don't we all
you
have those?
know.
Um, just know who you are. Know who you are, and don't kid yourself. If you know you can't do something, then don't try it. If you think you can do something, then go for it. But really know yourself. That's so important because when you know who you are, nothing can stop you, right? That's what I would say.
Thanks for listening and or watching this podcast. I really appreciate it, as do the women who I've interviewed. They really do appreciate hearing the comments that everyone has been sharing. So please share a comment, share the podcast, share the fucking cool women that are on this podcast to the other fucking cool people that you know. In fact, that's the reason the FCW Society started, was so that we could introduce our FCW friends to each other. And the best way to really keep evolving and making the world the best it can be is by connecting to other cool people who are doing cool things and collaborating. So let's keep doing it, my friends. And again, thank you so much for listening or watching, and subscribe, sign up for the newsletter, and tell your FCW friends that they can be on this podcast too. Just fill out the form. All right, my friends. Until next time.